Another example is a little bit different. This example is a relationship. I was in Houston, Texas, and I was speaking down there, and I haven't been given permission to use the name, so I'm not going to use the name, okay? But there was a lady who was in the class with me, and she was she broke down into tears because she felt that her marriage was about to end, right? And boy, it's obviously a really, really tough situation, right? And so as she's in tears, like, I mean, tears. And I said to her, I said, all right, let's calm down for a second. Let's just relax. Let me ask you a few questions, all right? And I said to her, I said, tell me something. Do you love your husband? Yes. Does he love you? Yes. I'm like, well, perfect. Okay, great. So now we have at least somewhere to start from, because if you're not feeling the love, it's a problem, right? Because you're not going to be willing to necessarily do what it takes if you're not feeling it, if you're not in that space. So she said, yes. I said, so what's the problem? Well, I just find that, like, I'm super ambitious, and and he just wants to sit at home and be with the kids, and just have me be at home, be with the kids with him, and chilling out after work, just come home, and that's not for me. I want to pursue my passions. I want to pursue business. That's what I really love to do. And I said, and he's constantly complaining about my not being there if I'm out doing, if I'm out, I'm doing stuff with the business, and he's saying that I'm not taking any interest in the family. I said, okay. So they have two different perceptions of a situation, because her perception was that, well, I'm building this for us. You know what I mean? I want to do this for us as a family. And his perspective is, well, you're not here, so you're not really being a part of the family. So we got a problem here, right? So that was issue number one. The issue number two was that she found that when it came to the rules in the home, there were she felt that she was doing majority of the work, and that he wasn't really doing much, and all this type of stuff. So she was going down this litany, this laundry list of her issues and her concerns. So I said to her, I said, okay, I want you to go, and I gave her some specific things to say to him to get on the same page. Next thing you know, she calls me and she says, Noel, I spoke to him, and I think we're just going to have a divorce and stuff. I'm like, whoa, what did you say? Sometimes you tell somebody to say something and they don't say it the exact way that you told them to say it, and then they say it, and then the thing blows up. That's what happened. And I said to her, I said, look, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. Ask him if he would be open to coming down and sitting with me. And if both of you can sit down and let's have a conversation about this. I said, I am not a marriage counselor, but I'll give you the best I got, okay? Like this. And so, anyway, so they came over by the place I was staying in Houston, and we sat down. It was supposed to be 1 hour, turned into 4. All right, so I'm going to I drew out some circles for these guys, and there was a diagram, and I want you to take a look at the diagram that's on the screen right now. And if you're listening to this, you need to pull up, either watch the video or pull up the PDF with the images on it, okay? So there were two circles intertwined, and on the top of the left portion was his portion, so that was for husband, and then there was a W on the top of the other circle, which is for wife, right? Now, and under each one has ideal relationship. So what I had them do is I sat down, I said, I want you to write out, what is your ideal relationship? And have them eat. So they all took a minute and wrote down all the things that for them would be like, this would be the best marriage ever, right? And so, and then so once they had that written down, I started having a conversation. So I started going over it with each one of them. And I said, listen, as we get into this conversation with each other today, I just want to be clear that we're coming from the spirit of love. So, and the spirit of reconciliation. We want this marriage to work, right? Is this yes? Yes, fair, okay, good. And I said, which means that we're going to leave judgment out, and we're not going to argue. We're simply sharing how we feel about what's happening. And then it's up to each of you as individuals to decide whether or not it's worth making the adjustments for one another, or you have a decision to make. Okay? Like this, and they both agreed. Fine. So one of the things that he had written down was that he wants more family time, and he wants for them to go to dinners together as a family with the kids. And so she took a bit of an issue with that, and she says, well, honestly, I would love to be able to go out to have dinner with you all. It's not that I don't want to go, but we have two young boys. They're rowdy. I always have to end up being the one who's the bad guy, because I'm always bad cop, always having to give the discipline, and I don't get to enjoy my food, and it's just stressful. So I would rather just be at home. I'd rather not go outside and have to deal with that. And so then he turned to her and says, oh, I thought you liked being in control. So they both saw things differently. So he thought this is what she wanted, but meanwhile it's not what she wanted. But there wasn't communication between the two to share about what each person wanted and what they didn't find favorable. And so the next thing the next thing that came up was she said, if we found out that he is more of a spender and she is more of a saver and an investor, right? And so it was like, okay, so now these are again two different mindsets, and these aren't questions that they had asked each other before they got with one another. And the truth is, a lot of people, when they get into relationships to begin with, they don't ask these questions. They don't ask, well, what are your philosophies around how children should be raised? Are you a spender or are you a saver? Are you an investor? Are you aggressive with investments, or are you more conservative? Are you entrepreneurial or are you not? Or what are you into? Like, a lot of questions don't get asked. You know, people just sort of start dating, hanging out, they've been around for a minute, they feel like they know each other enough, and then they take it to that next level without really truly understanding where each person is coming from. And one of the things that I suggest to anybody before getting into relationships, before getting into marriage, is getting counseling before the fact. Not after the fact, before the fact. You need an impartial person who's going to look at both sides and ask all the tough questions to make certain that it's not just an emotional thing. Because emotions change over time, depending, it has to be a principle and a philosophy-based thing, not just emotional. It has to be principle and philosophy-based. So particularly when it comes to conflict resolution or solving problems in relationships. So coming back to the point. So we have to start looking at, well, where are the areas of compromise? So the part that was in the middle, that's going to be the areas of compromise. They're both still individuals, so they both have to get some of what they want, right? Like this, and then there's certain things that you may not be the most into, but to make your spouse happy or you make your partner happy, okay, fine, I'll do it because I love you, okay? Right? And likewise the reverse. It goes both ways. It goes both ways, right? And then of course there's things that you're going to do independently, you know what I mean? Because you're still individuals. And you still have a life to live, and you still need to fulfill the desires that are within your heart, right? So once we started getting through their philosophies, the way that they see life about spending, saving, investing, who's taking care of the kids, who's cleaning, who's getting the kids ready in the morning for school, are we taking turns, how are we doing this thing? Like, when we got through each of that, there was a huge perception shift between each of them. They began to see how each other, he chose to support her in her business, but she also said that she'll pull back a little bit so she can spend more quality time. You know what I mean? And then, okay, there were some adjustments made with roles in the household and who's doing what and when. And then they said, well, look, if we earn more money, then you can spend a little bit more money because you can take the percentage of what you're spending and go have some fun with it, but the rest we're investing. They came to terms. Now they began to see things in the same way. Their perceptions were now aligned, or they were both now on the same page. Does that make sense? So, and it was interesting. About a year later, I got a message from them with a picture with them all eating dinner together at a table, all happy, and their marriage is stronger than ever, and things are moving great. So that's just an example of a slight perception shift through communication. But part of the problem is that a lot of people in relationships, whether it be for personal relationships or family, do not communicate. And people, frankly, have a problem with honesty, saying what's on your mind. And some people are very honest and they're brutally honest. And there's, You can be honest and kind at the same time, okay? You know what I mean? And so that was the space that was created while we had that conversation. And thankfully, we were able to save a marriage. So that was awesome. So that was another area of perception.